One of the programs we have on this month's cover disc for you is Alpha 5, which is a database program. When you launch the program, you're going to see this Welcome to Alpha 5 dialog, and you'll choose the Start Alpha 5 and let me choose my own database option and click OK. I'm going to delay checking for updates for now, and we'll choose New Database, and we're going to create a brand new database. I'm going to store this in my Documents and Settings. Actually going to put it in my data sources folder. This is a good place to put your databases is in your data sources folder because then you know always where your database data is stored. So I'm going to call this XYZ and it's going to be the employees list. So we're going to call it XYZ employees and just click save. That started up the basic database. Now what we need to do is to create a structure into which we will save details of the employees of this business. To do that, we start with table sets and we'll click new, and we're going to create a new table. Here is the basic form into which we create the table structure. Now I'm not going to start typing employees yet. I have to design how our employee data is going to be stored. The first field I'm going to have is first name, and that will be the employee's first name. It's a character field because it's going to contain character data. It is 20 spaces wide. It won't have any decimal places because it's not a numeric field, and I'm going to make it so that it can be indexed. That will make it easier to find information in it later on. The next field is very similar. It's the last name field, and then the department field, which is exactly the same, has all the same properties as the first name and last name. Now we're going to switch a little bit and we're going to enter the employee's salary. This is a numeric field because it's going to store numeric data. I'm going to make it 6 characters wide, which will cover somebody's salary up to $999,000. I'm not going to allow for any decimals, that's not necessary, but we can sort it, so we might choose ascending as the indexed order so that we could find data in it more quickly. I'm going to type the start date now. We're going to record when employees started working with the company. That will be a date field, and it has a default width of 8, which we will leave as being the width of that field. And then we're going to record whether or not an employee has a parking permit. And this will be a logical field into which we can place yes or no, true or false, and it will record those details. Again, no decimal places because it will take only one character. When you're finished with this form, which is developing the structure of the data that you're going to record, click the Save button, and now we're going to type in a name for this. So this is going to be XYZ employees. And I'll just click OK. Now I can close this, and I now have a table here into which I can start entering the data of the employees in this business. So the first person's first name is James, and James's last name is Reese, and he works in the accounts department, and his salary is $36,000. He started on the 31st of the 10th 2000, and he doesn't have a parking permit. The next employee is Susanna, and her last name is Michaels, and she works in sales. She has a salary of $55,000. She started work on the 12th of the 3rd, 2003, and she has a parking permit. So I'm typing yes, and Alpha 5 will change that into I'm just moving across, we'll change it into a T for yes or no, true or false. When I've finished entering some data, I'm just going to click to close that, and when I open it again, you can see that the data is stored inside that table. You will also have seen that entering data in this table is a little difficult because it's hard to see all the details across at this end of the screen, and even worse is when I come across to this end of the screen, all the other data at the beginning here has been removed, so it's a little difficult to see, and we've only got a very small data structure here. An easier way of entering data into a data table is in actual fact to use a form. And here's the Forms tab, so we're going to create a brand new form for this data table. We're going to use the table as the source for the form, and I'm going to choose the default form option, which will have all the fields in it. And all I really need to do is to choose a look for my data form, a background and button style. Click Next and then click Finish. And that's basically it. The form is opened in Design View, so this would enable me to make changes to the form should I wish to. And now I can save it. I'm going to call it XYZ Employees. And I'll just click OK to save it, and then I'm going to close it. The form now appears under the Forms tab. When I double click to open it, it shows me the data in my data file. I have 2 employees, and if I click the next record, you'll see that the next employee's details appear. Here's the first employee, here's the second employee. In forms like this, you can also enter data, and that's one of their strengths. I'll click the Enter New Record button, and now I get a blank record which allows me to add the details of yet another employee. My typing is awful. Okay, Rosalind Long, and she works in sales too. Her salary is $50,000. I think I need a typing tutor for next month's Quick Start guide. And she started work on the 4th of the 6th, 2005, and she has a parking permit. Now let's see, when we use these navigation tools, we're going all the way forward to James, and then we're coming back through the data file through to Rosalind. So you can use these to navigate your existing data, and you can also click to enter a brand new record. Not unexpectedly, when we open the table, Rosalind's details are in there. Of course she should be in the data table, and using a form has exactly the same result as entering the data in the table format. It's just easier to do. Let's have a look at creating a report, which is a way to get data out of your database in a printed form. I'm going to click New, and we'll base the report on the current data source, and I'll choose the Quick Report option. I'm going to give the report a title. I'm going to choose the repeating form style, which gives us bundles of fields for each employee listed one above the other. And now I'm going to choose each of the fields that I want to appear on the form, and I'll choose all of them. I can specify a sort order, so I'm going to choose department so that these people will be sorted so that the accounts department will appear before the sales department. And I could also set options, for example, bolding the titles of the report, etc. Click OK, and this opens my report in Design View. This would enable me to make changes to my report should I wish to. Can also save it. XYZ Employees, and click OK. I'm going to just at this point we're going to have a look at the report, so we'll choose Print Preview the current report. I have a slight problem here that I haven't sorted out yet. I've got a page length issue happening. This is just a warning that things are going to go over the bottom of the page, and I'll need to sort that out with my printer specifications. But here is my report, and as promised, each of the fields is lined up one above the other. Now, just on a quick look of this report, I think I could probably neaten this up a bit. It looks a little untidy. So I'm going to close my report, and let's go back into this design structure for the report, I'm going to click on this field and right click and choose properties. This is the first name field, which is causing me a little bit of grief because the spacing's very large. So I'm just going to remove the extra spacing here. As you can see, it's quite easy to make changes to the data on the form, and you can read up more about that in the help and the user guide for the program. But I'm just going to neaten these up so they'll just look a little bit tidier. Having done that, I'm going to save the changes, and now let's print preview it. Still haven't fixed up my warning, but now you can see that these headings look much neater, and that's been repeated throughout the report. So let's just recap on what we've done. I've back to the control panel. We've created a design structure for our database, and then we've entered employee data into it. We've created a form just using the new button and asking for a quick form with all the fields on it, and that form allows us to not only look at the data in our data file but also to add data. And then we use the Reports tab to create a report that would allow us to print the contents of the database. As you can see, there are other options here, and browsers is one of the ways that you can find data in your data file. And then you've got letters and labels, which would allow you to print details from that file. But that's the basics of getting started with a brand new database and Alpha 5.